we're all good.
Okay, thank you so much for letting me come speak to you today. Just a quick introduction. My name is Katie Fulp. I work for KPMG CPAs and Advisors. It's a local CPA firm. I started out my career in banking, so I had about an 8-year career in banking. Then I decided to switch gears. So I don't know if there are any non-traditional students in here, but good for you if that's what you're doing. It was the best decision that I made. So I went back to Missouri State. I was originally a international business major. And so when I switched, I signed up for accounting. And I also signed up for the MAC program as well. So I just went straight through. I got my CPA license and I'm going through my 8th licensing right now. So I'm changing hats. I'm in the transition of moving into the HR department, where I'm heading up all of the talent acquisition and retention efforts, which is why I'm here speaking to you today. So I went through my last recruiting season that I was fully responsible for in the fall. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed meeting students, doing things like this, interviewing, doing resume madness. So I really have a passion for helping students out. So this is a totally casual presentation. If you ever have a question, just shoot a hand up and we'll address it right away. So you don't have to wait till the end or anything like that, okay? Okay, so we're talking about spring recruiting or job search. So anybody in here in the process of searching for a job right now, whether it be with your profession or, okay, an internship, awesome. So you're an accounting major, you're looking for some type of accounting internship. That's great. Anybody else? Okay, well, you will be at some point in time down the road, so this will be really good information for you. I keep on hitting a button and it's not moving. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a few things today. Some major bullet points, some takeaways here is spring versus fall recruiting. So spring being the semester you're in, the recruiting efforts that are going on right now. You need to be thinking about what type of firms that you're looking for and what our firm's looking for in you. So we'll go into some of those things. And then how exactly does all this go down? So it's new for you. Likely it's your first pursuit of a professional career. And so I'm going to be giving you some pointers along the way, as well as all of the information that Mr. Gooden shares in this class. So I was talking to somebody, I've been involved with recruiting at KPM for years, and you can see a stark difference in the students that go through this class versus students that don't. So it's really impressive to recruiters, and it's important that you have this experience with this class. Okay, so with job search, you might feel like it's early on, but it's not a bad idea to start researching firms that you're interested in and review the open positions that they have. So like you said, you're looking for an internship right now. You want to be approaching firms that have internships available. So with fall recruiting, it's more of a systematic process. There's the career fair, there's on-campus interviews. We have a system at KPM where you come in for the office interview, and there's kind of a buzz around recruiting season. In the spring, you probably have to be a little more proactive. There are still career events that go on. There are employers that visit campus. So you want to take advantage of as many opportunities as you can. Whereas in the fall, you might find that it's more of a natural hiring process, and it's when most firms are looking. Would you agree?
Oh yeah. Yeah. This class, unfortunately, would be drastically different.
Oh, yes, okay. Because of everything you're preparing for.
Schedule. Everything happens in the first 3 weeks of this class in the fall.
Yeah. So if you are looking for internships right now, or you find yourself kind of hitting a dead end, and it's the springtime, maybe all the internship positions have been filled already. Don't get discouraged. The fall is a really great time to look, but not to say those positions aren't open. Again, companies come to campus. I know KPM should be here sometime in spring, and they set up tables and they give information out. Just approach them and talk to them, pick their brain, and see what you can find out. Okay, so a lot about what I will be speaking about today in the way of firms is public accounting. So I'll try to touch on some private accounting stuff, but I'm in public accounting, and so that's what I tend to talk about. So you need to think about what type of firm you want to work for. Do you want to work for a local firm, one that's regional, meaning they have several offices in the region, a national firm, which means they span across states, or an international firm? So think about what type of a firm are you interested in. I know some students like the idea of working internationally, or for a firm that has that type of business, a book of clients. Some people are really into the Springfield market or into the local market that they go to, and they love being involved with a local company. So whatever kind of fits your goals, that's what you need to be looking for. Really important is what type of internship you're looking for. So at KPM, we hire for the tax department, in the fall and your position starts in January. It ends in April because that's when our busy season is. So April 15th generally is tax day. That's when everybody's taxes are due without extensions. And so after that, our interns are turned loose into the world to go do great things. Now, if you're like me and you're a working student, that type of thing is kind of difficult, right? So you can't give up your full-time job or your job that you are working at year round to secure an internship. So I get that. That's kind of something you might need to plan for. You might need to look for internships that are year round, so you have that better job security, and they are out there. So be thinking about what works for you. Also, if you want tax, audit, or consulting type work, I think it's also a good time to start thinking about public versus private accounting. Does anybody in here just know for sure they want to be an auditor? Nobody's really decided. What about tax? Anybody in a tax class right now? Yes? Is it boring? So you might think like, okay, gosh, tax maybe isn't for me.
But they won't take audit before the semester.
That's true, right? It's later on.
Yeah.
Sure,
So
sure.
they've got no idea yet.
Okay. So reality versus the classroom life is very different. When I was in school, I loved tax. I thought all the regulations were cool. I love the steps you walk through, to see how much capital gains tax you're going to pay on something. It was really interesting to me. And I confirmed that when I started working at KPM. So I was kind of lucky. I started on that career path. I told them that I wanted to be in tax. I didn't feel like the audit lifestyle fit me because they were traveling around a lot, and I wanted to be in the office and have my own computer and my stand-up desk and things like that. But it's what I ended up doing. I love it. Now, conversely, we had a gal that started as a tax intern for us 2 years ago, and she liked it okay. She did a really good job. And she said, I want to try out audit. And because she was such a good intern, we said, okay, we'll give you a shot in audit. So she did an audit internship and she loved it. So then we hired her as a full-time auditor. So my point is, you might have an idea of what you want to do, but be open-minded to other opportunities because it could certainly change. Okay. Any questions about that?
Would you say there's like an advantage to apply for an internship during the summer or the fall or the time?
Yeah, the recruiting season in fall is really crucial to public accounting firms because we're looking to fill our positions for the year. So when I say busy season, typically for for-profit audit and for tax, that's going to be in the beginning of the year through March or April. Now, if you're looking into getting into governmental audit, those will be summer internships. So you could talk to a public accounting firm about that. I'm interested in government auditing. Do you have internships available for that? And those would be in the summer. So again, there's opportunities out there. You just have to kind of have a feel of what you want and ask the right questions. Okay, and then back to, are you willing to take a semester off to intern? That goes back to your personal situation, if you can swing it or not. If you can at all, it's incredible experience and it will really help you. But again, it's something you might want to start planning for now. And we'll talk about a little bit about perfecting your resume. So that sounds kind of scary, right? Making your resume perfect. It's not as daunting as you think, but I'll give you some pointers on making that document look really good. Okay, what are recruiters looking for? So what am I looking for when I'm out and about talking to students? We want candidates who are articulate, so they can speak to you, they can look you in the eye, they can communicate well, they're polished, and we'll talk about presentation. They're informed, meaning they know a little bit about what they want to do and a little bit about my company, and they're confident but not arrogant. So we want to see a degree of confidence, but arrogance is a whole different ballgame, and we want to stay away from that. We want to see that you've taken your academic career seriously, and that's going to be reflected with your GPA along with your extracurricular activities on your resume, and display a demonstrated ability to multitask. So you've got a lot of balls going in the air, you're juggling a lot as a student, and we want to see that you've executed that successfully. So that can mean you're involved in extracurriculars, you're a college athlete, you've got a part-time job, and also that you're legitimately, in my case, interested in a career in public accounting. So when we hire somebody full-time in public accounting, we spend the first 2 years heavily investing in you. So we're putting you through training, you're learning a lot, you're making a lot of mistakes and learning from those mistakes. And so if we talk to somebody that says, well, I kind of just want to do public accounting for a couple of years, get my CPA license and then move on, that's an unattractive candidate to us, just because of the time we spend training you those first 2 years to make you a valuable asset to our company and to prepare you for your career. So just a little heads up on that. Any questions there? Okay, so you've made it to the interview. Has anybody ever heard of an elevator speech? Have you guys talked about that or something similar in here?
We haven't really talked about the elevator speech much as yet.
And there probably is a better term for it. That sounds, to me, it even sounds a little bit dated, but it's the best way for me to describe something that you've prepared that's 20 or 30 seconds that you can say about yourself, a little bit about your background, what your academic career looks like, and what you're looking for. And so where the elevator speech came from is if you happen to step on an elevator with somebody, an executive or a CEO of a company or a recruiter, you'd have something to say to them before the elevator doors open and you parted ways. So it's not a long speech. It's just something about yourself that you've kind of practiced, you feel confident in saying. That's going to help at career fairs when you're walking around to prospective employers and help you give you that edge and that confidence. So again, going back to being proud, I always tell students, look, you have a really hard major. So if you survey students of, in the College of Business, in my opinion, I feel like this is one of the hardest ones. You should be proud of that. But you also want to be humble at the same time in realizing that these recruiters or these people interviewing you have a lot to teach and a lot to offer you. Do your homework and know something about the companies you're interviewing with. So this is one of my favorite questions. I always like to ask students, what do you know about KPM? And so you can do that quickly by jumping on their website. You might already know. I have students that come to me and say, I've always wanted to work for KPM. That's so flattering. But you knowing something about what we do, how we're into community service, where we're located, things like that, that means a lot to an interviewer. And thank you notes. So electronic email, they are wonderful. Handwritten is great too, right? It's a real personal touch, shows you took the time to do it. But when the recruiting process is real speedy, especially in the fall, it's really compressed. Sometimes those handwritten notes are a little untimely. And so while I loved getting them, maybe I'd already made all my offers, and then I get one because the US mail is a little slow, and I got one from a student like a couple weeks after I talked to them. So don't be afraid to send an email. A thank you email is just fine. It's important to be you, so be genuine. There's definitely a way to do that in a respectful and professional way, but you definitely want to come off as authentic. Listen. So when you're being interviewed, make sure you're listening to the questions being asked instead of waiting to speak. So it's a common thing with communication. You might be a little bit nervous, but you want to take the time to take in the question, the information that they're giving you, and be able to answer the question properly and take good notes and information. And being nervous is okay. So I'm not saying I love to see students nervous. I want them to be relaxed, but I always tell myself, if they're a little nervous, it just means that they're wanting to impress us. They're nervous about being there a little bit because they want the job. So it's expected and it's perfectly normal. So being nervous is okay. Okay, the offer process. Again, fall versus spring, this is going to look a little bit different. And so in the fall, usually recruiters are really upfront. You kind of know what the process is going to look like. They're telling you what's going on because they know that you're interviewing with a whole slew of other companies. In the spring, it might be a little less systematic. Might be something that you want to ask them about and say, hey, what are the next step here? If it feels comfortable, when you expect to make an offer or make a decision, just so you can kind of know if you're interviewing with different employers, what to expect from each one. Again, do send a thank you email or letter. And if you're interviewing with several employers, I advise you not to accept the first offer that you get. Typically, they give you a little bit of time to think about it. And if you are trying to time interviews or waiting for different offers, I think it's important for you and your career that you have the offers out in front of you and you can make the best decision for you. And so in some cases, you might have to ask the employer if you can have another week. Say, can I have another week to decide or can I have the weekend? I'm just trying to make the best possible decision for me. And typically they'll understand. Okay, let's talk about your resumes. One thing that I see students try to do is fill up the entire page with something because they want to have a full page. They want it to look good. Don't be self-conscious if you don't have a lot on your resume. It's really not expected at this point in time, right? You're early on in your careers. What you do want to do is keep it clean and keep it simple. So when I'm talking about that, the main thing is formatting. when I'm going through resumes, and sometimes we'll have a stack that we're going through, we want to be able to read them top to bottom and left to right. And so your typical, if you will, boring resume format is really, really what you need to do. And I know students are tempted to put their picture on there. Don't do that. They're tempted to use a template that has all sorts of, blocks and different presentation styles on it. Don't do that either. I know that you're trying to stand out. And at some point in time, somebody may have told you, hey, do something different with your resume so it'll catch the recruiter's eye. Well, it's really frustrating if I'm trying to read all the wonderful things that you've done, and I have to look at this little block over here to see your competencies, and then look at this side over here to see your timeline of work. Just a very simple, clean, neat resume. And then let all your academic achievements, your extracurricular activities, your job experience, those are what should stand out. Any questions about that? Did anybody go to Resume Madness? Yes?
It was required.
Oh, good. Okay. So I did that in the fall. I'm not sure KPM had a representative this spring, but that was so great. I mean, so many students already had a really great resume going on, a good format. And so there wasn't a lot of times a ton of work that we had to do, but it was so cool to get a second look at it. And then some of them would come in with the ones that were trying to be eye-catching or with a picture on there. And so we had just some minor corrections on those.
That's one thing I've tried telling them, because they've all done resumes before,
Mhm.
management to executive. And those are very general business resumes. And so not this class necessarily, but I've taught other classes where like, I don't understand why we're doing this, I've already got one.
Right.
And it's like, well, those things that Katie just talked about, clean, they're looking at them quickly, they're making judgments very quickly based on what they can read. That's why we're doing it. That's why I asked you guys to go to Resume Madness, because people like Katie are there, they're the ones hiring you. They're the ones telling you exactly what to put and exactly what they expect.
And I actually, on my resume that I have now is an iteration of one that I made when I went to Resume Madness here. And so you, and so you get a really good document, and that you can carry it all through your professional career. Naturally, it's changed. I've gotten some certifications and some job experience and things that I want to highlight about myself on there. But that solid format that I've gotten, I've had it for years and years and years. So glad that you guys participate in that. It's such a good event. Okay, so some things that you definitely want on there. We talk about the GPA, when to put it on, when not to put it on. I'm not sure what your official recommendation is.
I tell them 3.0.
Okay.
It's less than 3.0, then put it on there.
Okay, so I've had students
Over.
say, yeah, they say 3.5. I'm like, gosh, that's kind of harsh, because we kind of try to look at the whole picture. We like to see a 3.25 at KPM. If that could be a cutoff for some of our candidates. But if I say, okay, this student has a 3.2 or 3.1, and look at all they were involved in, look at their job experience, their internship experience, the extracurriculars that they were involved with. So I'm like, okay, I can see where maybe grades suffered a little. And really a 3.0 is not a bad GPA.
No, and that's one thing I've always told students as well is I was in that boat. I was a non-traditional student. I had a job, I was working 50 hours a week. I had a wife, I had kids. I was not going to get it for it. It wasn't happening.
Right.
I sacrificed some of my GPA for family, for work, things like that. Now, those of you that have a job, that, those are the kind of students you're competing against that do get those 4.0s. But when you have a clean, easy to read resume, they can see that. And they go, oh, well, yeah, they've got a 3.1, but they've maintained the same job for 11 years. Like
right.
I did with the same company. I maintained over a 3.0 average. Those are important things to know. That's why it's so important to keep your resume updated, keep your resume clean and easy to read, not with all the formatting and all the.
Right.
Just thought I would jump in there.
No, appreciate it.
It's nice when somebody else reads this.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, great things. And I have a lot of respect for students that work because I know it's tough. You're really trying to keep up the grades. This is a tough program. So again, if it's, I think 3.0 and above, I think it's fine on a resume. Some ways to highlight your GPA, if you're not so proud of maybe some earlier blunders, is to highlight what your major CPA is, or GPA. So you could put that on there, accounting major GPA. I've seen that. That looks really nice. And that says, hey, I've worked really hard in my accounting classes. I'm taking this portion of my schooling very seriously. And in full disclosure, most employers will ask for your transcript. So they're going to see if you have passed bad grades on there, and just be ready to explain. And I'll give you a warning about that. What they would want to see or hear you say is, look, I didn't take the ownership of that class like I should. There was a concept that I really didn't understand, so I retook it. What employers are not going to like to hear you say is blaming, having some kind of excuse or reason other than taking ownership for the grade. So, I had an interview this spring in another school, completely different area. And there's just everything, every bad grade the student had an excuse for, that wasn't her fault. So we'd like to see ownership taken for those things. So just make sure you say, here's what happened. It was my bad, but here's how I improved it. And then usually I think employers will move on. But that's a way to highlight your grade, is by talking about your accounting grade. Anticipated graduation date. This is really important for employers because they want to know how many internships could I potentially have you for? How soon should a full-time offer be made? At KPM, for example, we'll have an internship. If they do a good job, we'll bring them back the next year. We've even had 3-year internships, but they want to know if you're going to get your MAC and when that anticipated graduation date is, or your MBA, whatever you're deciding to get. And so make sure you put on your resume when you graduate with your bachelor's, and then when you're graduating with your MAC. Work experience, of course, including dates. Computer skills. These could be anything in the Microsoft suite. Say you had an internship or a job where you learned everything about Microsoft Outlook. Well, that's a huge part of our job. Microsoft Word, Excel, of course, is really important. So if you have that skill, make sure you highlight that. And maybe you have some of those more heavy hitting skills like Power BI and some of those data analytics. Make sure you're listing on those and sort of bragging about yourself. If you're bilingual, go ahead.
One thing I've told them, because this is just what I've seen and experienced, is that a lot of times saying I'm proficient with Excel or Outlook or Word or whatever is really more of an expectation, especially now is going to be more towards data analytics in accounting. So I've told them to leave those basic skills.
Okay.
Because they're kind of an expectation.
Okay.
Like your employer expects that you can perform functions and formulas in Excel.
Got it.
We're learning that in the data analytics courses here, we're learning that in the data information systems courses here. So it's an expectation. Now, Power BI, Tableau, Idea, things like that definitely include because those are software not everybody.
Right.
They're not an expectation. But
good point.
The employer knows better than I do. So she is telling me to add them, I would say it's acceptable.
Well, I think, and that's really great. I would want to highlight your best, put your best foot forward. And so if you are into like, know the extended amount of formulas, look up some pivot tables and all sorts of advanced functions in Excel, you could highlight that. And you could keep it simple too, absolutely. You could put Microsoft Suite or just leave them off. It is somewhat of an expectation that we have that you've had some experience with them. But these are things you could bring up in the interview as well. Okay, we talked about resume madness. Any questions about any of this? Okay, we have to talk about COVID, right? So Springfield's still reporting over 50 cases a day. It's still a very real, serious deal here, but it's kind of confusing. Last time I came to present to this class, I wore a mask. Everybody was wearing a mask. We were a lot more nervous and there were a lot of stricter guidelines in place. Now the CDC is kind of relaxing things a little bit. We're feeling more vaccinated overall, but I still think people are nervous, and I think you need to expect protocols to still be in place and kind of be ready to anticipate whatever that your prospective employer would be asking of you in the way of wearing a mask, social distancing, all of that. And so I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I think everybody gets it. But just remember, still when you're job searching, tuck a mask in your pocket or put it in your purse, be ready to throw one on. If you feel more comfortable masked and you show up to the employer and they're not masked, you can feel comfortable to leave your mask on. That's okay. So we're still kind of in this COVID world and people are really nervous and they're wanting to protect each other. And so we just need to be cognizant of what's going on there. If you're sick with any kind of illness, I think it's still safe to say that you need to request a Zoom interview if you're able to interview still, and every employer should respect that. Contact them in ample time if you can and say, hey, I'm symptomatic. can we do this via Zoom? And I've even got a little blurb in here about how we hired 2 interns via Zoom interview last year. So it doesn't rule you out as a candidate at all. In fact, it shows responsibility. It shows that you care. If you say, hey, I don't want to be around you while I'm feeling sick, and so can we conduct this via Zoom? And most companies can pivot pretty easily. Asking if your interviewers are vaccinated, I would not recommend it. Again, this is for both parties' comfort zone. So if you are worried about that, you can wear a mask during the interview and make sure it's socially distanced. Also, you can request Zoom. And can you ask the protocol the firms are taking to protect people from COVID? Absolutely. Every firm has something in place. They want to protect you and their business and themselves. And so they do have something they should be able to provide you, if not verbally and on paper even. So this is a world we've been living in for a couple of years, and so people are very used to that. Okay, we talked about the masking. Okay, moving on. So let's talk presentation. This is out of all the attributes of professionalism and being a professional, this is what I would consider what you can absolutely do so well in your interview process. So of these 4 pictures, what do you guys think would be appropriate to wear to an interview? Do you think all of them would be good? What about number 2? Yes, no? I see some heads shaking. 3? You think that one's okay? No, a no head shake, that's good. And what about the last one? Looks good, right? Okay, so in a business casual environment, I think that most of these outfits would work well. And so I'll just talk about each one. So the first one, again, wouldn't wear it to an interview, just a different style, kind of an exotic cut of the dress, vibrant colors, a little bit flashy. Now, it's not inappropriate in a business casual environment, I don't think. Each company has their own dress code, but it's not revealing, it's not too short, but it's just not business professional. And again, you're putting your best foot forward. Your first impression is being made in this interview. So you would want to dress more like number 2. Gals is a great way to dress. Her suit is matching. She's very well put together, very well groomed. Okay, number 3. What's up with what this guy's wearing? Do you guys know? I mean, it doesn't look too bad, right? But what's going on? What would you say is wrong, quote unquote? Okay, good.
Socks.
Ah, thank you for saying that. Like, I don't want to be the old person in the room because we have seen a lot of people come in interviews with no socks on. So I'm like, is this something I'm going to have to get used to? Because I can tell you some of the older shareholders in the room that are interviewing are not used to it. And so they see somebody come in with like European style cut jeans or dress pants, no socks on, and it just kind of catches them off guard. So I would recommend to wear socks to your interview, socks that match your pants. So very good. And the last one, right, is obvious. He looks very nice, very sharp, very put together. So that's definitely good. What about shorts? Like, these are suit, right? Oh, good. I'm glad you laughed. Right. No, we would not want to do that. The shorts are just not, they're not really a good thing to wear right now. I mean, in 10 years, maybe style will change because it always does. Pantyhose used to be a requirement, right? So that's one. Did they require pantyhose at the auditor's office?
They did for a long, long time. Women had to wear ankle length skirts and pantyhose.
Ankle length.
Yeah, Nicole. So what happened at the auditor's office is they had an auditor that was the auditor for 4 years. She was very old school. Then they had another guy come in and get elected. He unfortunately killed himself halfway through his tenure as state auditor. And that's how Nicole Galloway, the current auditor, got the position of auditor.
Wow.
When she got in there, she was like, why are women still having to wear skirts and pantyhose? We don't have to do that anymore. And she changed a lot of the things about the auditor's office, and that was one of the things.
Okay.
One of the first things that she changed was like, well, why can't we wear pantsuits or, you know?
So there's like an ankle skirt and pantyhose burning at the.
Oh, yeah. I've talked to many of the, there's actually a lot of female leadership at the auditor's office.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Most of the leaders in the auditor's office are female, and so I talked a lot to them, like, oh, yeah, we were the most exciting about the whole thing. It's like,
Right. Not even my pay raise last year, it was the pantyhose, yeah.
And she did change something, ties.
That guy
Yeah,
did.
wear ties.
Okay. Yeah, in the real world, I feel like things are waning to, less casual. or more casual, I'm sorry. So you don't always go in and see the business professional suits, but there's certainly a time and a place for it, and the interview process is that time and place. And so you'll learn definitely about a company's dress code once you secure that internship or full-time position, but we'll play it safe in the meantime, okay? Okay, so some pro tips. This is the low-hanging fruit I was talking about. Clean yourself and your clothing, free of pet hair. I love animals. I love my dogs. So I just don't want to carry my furry friends into an interview. So make sure you carry that lint roller around and stay nice and sharp looking. Looking like you didn't just roll out of bed, even if you did. So become a pro at that. Brush your hair and teeth. Socks should match your shoes and your pants. So white socks with dark pants, not good. Being polished doesn't have to be expensive, right? We're students, we don't want to have to go drop a lot of money on a suit. So here's some ideas on Pinterest boards. Will give you some good ideas. Old Navy, Target. I love to go to Target. They have great suits, or they have great like jackets and slacks and things like that, and nice dress shoes that aren't too expensive. Gently used thrift stores. If you have not heard of the Plaid Door, it's a great place that the Junior League runs. And early on in my career, I went there and bought fantastic suits for $15 or $20, and they're barely used. Some of them have the tags on them still, if that kind of freaks you out. But that's a great place to go. So you can look them up online and see when they're open. I think they have limited hours, but great place to go. Tattoos and piercings. What do you guys think? Let's start with piercings.
It's something you guys don't know about me, but I have tattoos all the way, but I keep them all above my elbow, because now I can wear my shirts, and nobody knows I have tattoos all the way up to my shirt.
So now we know Mr. Good's secrets.
And they're all horror tattoos. I'm a horror movie fan.
Whoa, that's cool. I know, I love the kaleidoscope billboard that they used to have, and it would show the guy like Monday through Friday, and then the guy on the weekends, and you can see that he was clearly tatted like all over. But then on his Monday through Friday, he had a long, like an Oxford cut shirt on, and there was not a tattoo in sight. So I will tell you that at KPM, and I know at BKD recently, they have loosened their restrictions on tattoos. And so our thought is, if they are not offensive, they can be visible as long as you're not out in the public or in front of clients. And when I say out in public, I mean representing KPM. So if I came in here today and I've got sleeve tattoos in front of people that are outside of KPM, my company policy would want me to have my tattoos covered up. Okay. And so again, play it safe. If you've got tattoos, you should probably cover them up during the interview process until you find out later on, what their exact policy is. But there's a couple of CPA firms in town's policy for you if that helps at all.
Yeah, I know when I first started working at Mercy, it was no visible tattoos.
Right.
And I had it was before I started getting tattoos. And I knew a lot of people there that had to come in every day with either makeup over tattoos all day or Band-Aids over tattoos. They've relaxed that because it's just too hard to hire people that don't have tattoos anymore.
Yeah, they're becoming so common. Yeah.
They were having a real problem with nurses because now you can walk around Mercy and you'll see nurses just completely sleeved down. That used to not be.
Yeah.
It's less frowned upon.
Yeah, there's less of a stigma, I feel like.
Yeah,
like with a lot of things.
But like I said, I still keep mine above the elbow so that I can wear it. Because like when I worked with the auditors, if I was going to a fraud audit and interviewing if I was going to be interviewing an auditee that was involved in fraud, they could do it. I don't look very professional with a bunch of that. So as much as I may disagree with that or whatever, I think it's still just a fact that when if you're going into an environment like that and somebody sees your tattoos, they have a completely different kind of perception about your authority.
Ability or
your ability to perform the job, whatever the case may be. So,
yeah.
I've never had a problem with tattoos, but I would always try to keep them in a place where you can easily cover them opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely have employees that have tattoos, and you can see, if they don't have anything going on, nobody really cares that they're showing now that they're not of obscene things or,
right.
The stuff like that.
All the sailor tattoos.
So yeah, that's kind of the scoop on that. Now piercings, believe it or not, the policy is a little more strict, I guess, if you will, in the way of, we don't really like anything in the face. And so if you're a fan of your, nose ring, for example, maybe there's a retainer that you can put in it while you're interviewing and trying to figure that out. But we like to see the piercings in the ears only at this point. So tongue piercings, eyebrow piercings, nose piercings. Hopefully if you've got one, there's a way you can remove it and put, something in there that's not visible. Any questions about that? Yes, you had a question.
Is it okay to ask what the price is?
Sure, yeah, I think so. I mean,
You've got watch, you've got tattoos on their arms and stuff.
Yeah.
That's,
you are, okay. So, yeah, I would go to the interview with them covered, and then you can certainly ask that, how they feel about it. Good question. Yeah. Anybody else? They're kind of tricky waters to navigate because, if you're applying as an accountant for a tattoo and piercing parlor, they're probably not going to care, and they need accountants too, so.
and I really think it probably depends on.
Sure.
If it's a guy who's been an accountant for 40 years.
Probably
these guys are
conservative.
Old school. and
Yeah.
maybe Won't like it at all, but if you're getting a younger guy, like, that's just now, senior manager or partner or something.
Right. I agree. So, okay. Am I doing okay on time? Okay.
We're good, yeah.
All right. So we got through all that. Those are easy peasy things for you to do. Never go casual on grooming. So your hair, nails, gals, I think we should all know that or guys, if your nails aren't fully polished, and then take it off, so don't have chip nail polish. Facial hair, keep it groomed and clean cut, and keep your eyebrows trimmed and tweezed, if you will. All right, any questions about any of that? Oh, okay, yes, you raise your hand first.
All right. Do you know many CPAs that didn't get their masters? Like if they just went 4 years, had 150 hours?
Mhm.
How did that go for them? Did they say that they were glad they did it? Were they able to, or did they advance slower? Like, how did that work?
Well, I think in that situation, it would have been a student who maybe started down one path and then went down another, right? Is that maybe what you're thinking?
I came in with a couple of credits and so
Okay.
I'm thinking at
You
the
might
end
be
of 4
there.
years, I can just take the CPA.
Okay, I think that the MAC or MBA might make you marginally more competitive against other candidates, but having that 150 hours and being able to take the CPA exam, which now is 120 hours when you
120 hours to sit.
To sit.
Still, 150 still.
to get licensed. So I, as a recruiter, I really wouldn't care all that much as long as you are able to sit for the CPA exam. That's the most important thing. So you've gotten all the required accounting classes. We've definitely hired students like that before, but usually the trajectory is that they go all the way through to the MAC because that gets you to the 150 hours. This thing is just doing its own
Yes,
thing.
I see, you must have time.
Oh, do I? Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and then have you talked to those students about if they were glad that they did that?
Right. I find more when I'm having conversations with students that they are typically happier that they got the MAC versus the MBA. But in that case, I don't know that I've had a lot of conversations in regards to that. I know the MAC, especially here now, is helping students prepare for their CPA exam.
Yeah, and this is one thing I told you guys not to read, is that the 120-hour credit for you guys is such a big thing because those were 3 classes in the MAC program that are optional now are actually worth something. When I went through my MAC program, there were 12 required credit hours that I could not get out of my master's program, but I couldn't sit for the exam until I had 150 hours.
Right.
And so far, all those were just like lunch courses.
Yeah.
Because they were 8-week courses, and you guys don't realize it yet, but far is a lot to study in 8 weeks. And especially when you're taking, 12 other credit hours from the graduate program.
Mhm.
It's much better for you guys than that. I will say, Mitchell, I have known lots of accounts, particularly at the auditor's office, that didn't have a master's degree, they just had their 150 hours. I will say most of them, if they sat for the CPA, wish they had done some sort of master's program, particularly the math, because it does help you prepare for those CPA. Because unfortunately, where you stop at the end of undergraduate is not where the CPA exam expects your knowledge to be. They expect you to have some graduate level knowledge from some graduate level accounting.
Yeah, so that's kind of a tough one. I mean, I think that helping you on your career path, it'd be good to get your master's, but you could see what's out there and what's available and maybe find a really great internship and you just start on it. You can go get your Mac later, but that's going to be a personal decision for you. I think what's important to employers is that you're going to be able to pass that CPA exam.
Yeah, that's not to say you couldn't pass it.
Right, yeah.
Easier.
Yeah, you get a good prep course.
Yeah,
You work hard, you can definitely pass.
not that anything inside of those exams.
No.
Brutally hard.
But you can do it. Just an FYI, I know everybody talks about how hard they are, and that's true, but you can definitely do it. Just takes hard work. Any other questions? You had a question?
You've given a lot of good information, but what's this KPM smart program?
Oh, I love that question. Something we're super proud of at KPM is our community involvement. We have a program called Community Cares, where every month we're donating and highlighting a charity. A lot of our clients are charities, and so we're really integrated with them. And so we bring them in, they talk about their charity, the firm learns about it. We have a giving program for them. One thing that I thought was great, and because I have my own not-for-profit that I started, is that KPM gives us community cash. So we're able to donate to our favorite 501c3. So each level gets a certain amount. When you start at 500, then the next level 750, and then so on. And so you can love a charity and through KPM give them $500. They also endorse volunteer work. And so we're involved with United Way and Day of Caring. And so that's probably my favorite thing. And being a local firm integrated with the local community means a lot to me.
I think that's one of the big things that Suffolk County, apart from some of the other majors, is the accounting firms are so involved.
Yeah, good question. Anybody else?
When you guys are hiring interns, how far into schooling do you want them to be?
For our tax interns, we want them to have at least had one tax class. Now, our audit interns are a little different because you do take the audit class so late, and so that's not necessary. But for the tax interns, we like to see that tax class, so tax 1.
But we would go through that.
Anybody else? All right, well, I think we only have a few minutes, so I'll let you wrap up your class. And thank you guys so much. There is, will this slide be available on?
Yeah, I'll post it if they want.
Okay.
If you want me to put it on.
Yeah.
Blackboard, I will post it on the Blackboard.
Okay. So if you think of a burning question that you just didn't want to ask in front of everybody, here's my contact information that you can get off of this slide later. Email me or call me anytime. So other than that, hopefully we'll see you on campus during the meeting season.
But I always tell you guys, get to know these guys. Katie, make it to where she recognizes your face when you walk down the hallway. She goes, "Oh, that's Mitchell.
Yeah.
I know Mitchell. I know you. Whoever." So get to know these recruiters. Always stop and talk to them. They're going to be. It's going to be very beneficial for you to start building that network.
Yes.
That's the
Networking
whole.
never stops, does it?
No, and that's like I told you about this class. I am more interested in you guys' ability to start learning how to network efficiently. Okay, not just becoming friends with everybody that you see, but network with people that are going to be impactful and effective for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all very much.
All right, guys.